InnerQuest explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
Hello, welcome to InnerQuest. My name is Jay Stone, your host for today, and our guest is Reverend Russell Elleven. Welcome, Reverend.
Yeah, pleasure.
Is it okay if I call you Russell?
Yeah, please do, Jay.
Okay. Russell is an ordained minister, board-certified coach, certified wellness practitioner, and a two-time cancer survivor. His coaching practice is called the Minister of Health, and he helps people to make the changes necessary to live fuller, healthier lives full of wellness. Well, Russell, why don't you start by telling our audience more about your personal and professional history?
Well, I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, and spent the majority of my life in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth-Denton Metroplex, with the exception of graduate school at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee.
What did you study in graduate school?
Well, I've studied a number of things. I studied education, counseling, theology, world religions, a number of things in graduate school. It was a spectacular time, very uplifting, and enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, I have a nephew or cousin that goes there.
Yeah.
It's got a great reputation.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's a wonderful place.
Yes. Okay, and so you're talking about your personal professional history. How do you go from Vanderbilt to Chicago and working in the wellness field?
Yeah, well, I was called to ministry after spending about 17 years in academia. I was a professor and an administrator.
Where were you a professor and administrator?
At the University of North Texas in Denton, Texas, and then at Texas Christian University, and then as a minister, I was at Westside Unitarian Universalist Church in Fort Worth.
And what were you a professor of? Philosophy, theology?
No, actually, I taught. What I mostly did was teach graduate students how to do research. Mm-hmm. So I taught in the College of Education. I had a series of classes that took them through either their thesis or their dissertation project, and it was always quite exciting to see people go from the beginning of that process to the end of graduation.
At the end, it's like great relief.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now, how did you go from that to Chicago and a wellness coach?
Yeah, I had a wonderful congregation in Fort Worth, and I still miss them immensely. But my wife had oftentimes sacrificed for me to continue going to school or to change different jobs or whatever it may be. And we sat down at some point and said, what would it take for her to be able to follow a career goal of hers? And we came up with 3 different cities where we would be attracted to, and Chicago was one of those. And it wasn't 3 months after we had that conversation that a recruiter called and asked if she'd be interested in looking at this position.
So how many years ago did you end up in Chicago?
It will be a year.
Okay.
This coming
so
November
relatively newcomer.
I'm very much of a newcomer.
Oh, so you got to enjoy one Chicago winter.
I got here just in time for the polar vortex. It was quite the welcoming.
Okay. And you were a 2-time cancer survivor. You want to tell our audience how you survived cancer?
Yeah, when I was 13 years old, I had osteosarcoma in my left arm. It's a bone cancer that when people get it, they generally get it in their adolescent years. And it was an aggressive, rapid-growing cancer, and it was decided that the only way I would survive that would be the amputation of my left arm. I happened to be left-handed, so there was not only the trauma of that, but then learning to write and all of the things that...
Well, and it's striking you down in the prime of your adolescence.
Absolutely, 13 years old, and it was a major piece of my life that follows me in many different ways. And then when I was 39 years old, I had colorectal cancer. And again, radiation, chemotherapy, all of those kind of Western medicines that got me to the other side of that.
And people who have that first type of cancer, do they often get other types of cancer as they get older?
That's an excellent question. What I was told is that oftentimes when you have cancer as a young person, that the propensity to have cancer again is higher than in the typical population. So it's something that I'm very aware of, and it's part of my own sort of health and wellness regime.
So how many years have you been cancer-free this second time?
It's been 10 years now.
Oh, good. So I think it's considered 5 years you're considered a cancer survivor.
Right.
So congratulations.
Yeah, thank
times
you.
2.
Thank you.
So, and when I was preparing for this interview, one of the things I thought was, who better to teach people to survive cancer than a cancer survivor? Or to use the words of the Course of Miracles, you teach what you have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So, so can you define for our audience what a health and wellness coach is?
Yeah. One of the things I didn't mention is that I'm also licensed as a therapist back in Texas, and coaching has many of its roots from counseling and therapy. But what it does,
I'm thinking Dr. Phil.
Yeah. Who is a graduate of the University of North Texas, where I taught.
Oh, was he there when you?
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
It's one of the claims to fame of UNT.
Yeah, I would pity any teacher who'd have to teach Dr. Phil, because you ain't teaching him anything.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure. But what coaching does is kind of moves away from a couple of things that counseling and therapy does. It moves away from the idea that the therapist is the expert and moves it to where the client is the expert. It kind of turns it on its head that way.
Okay.
And then it also gets away from, I believe, the sort of medical model that counseling and therapy has kind of embraced, but kind of been forced into as well. So the client is the expert, and instead of looking at the past, which counseling and therapy often does quite well, we're going to look out into the future and see where you want to be, and what are the gaps in between there. How do we get you from where you are to where you want to be?
So take us through, let's say somebody comes to see you. So take us through, what the initial appointment is like, and then what you do from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I like to do, because wellness and health to me are made up of a number of dimensions. It sort of comes out of that mind, body, spirit holistic modality, but it also adds in things like career, your social aspects of life, your relationships. It looks at a wide variety of dimensions. And so what I like to do is, rather than assume what somebody wants to work on, is to have them look at a diagram of these different dimensions of wellness and see where they believe they are most...
Is this the same diagram for everybody?
Pretty much. There are different diagrams depending on different professional associations. I belong to the National Wellness Institute, so I tend to use that diagram. But there are others, and because this is client-centered and client-based, if there's something in there or something is not in there, they can say, well, this is an area that I'd like to look at as well.
Why this is going to be a difficult question,
No.
but why do humans have so much difficult time taking care of themselves? It's not like a squirrel or a rabbit or a deer needs to go to school in order to learn how to feed and fend for itself.
Mm-hmm.
Why do people have such a difficult time?
That's a really interesting question, and what comes to my mind, Jay, is we have a lot more choices of what we're going to eat than the squirrel does. And some of those things are not good. Some of those things have been manufactured for us. They're not natural. Mm-hmm. And so the squirrel knows what the squirrel's going to go and get and eat. We go into the grocery store, and there are so many options, and so many of them...
But look, the squirrel has lots of options, especially in my backyard.
Yeah.
It's only going to choose the ones that are good for itself.
Yeah.
Why don't we go in the grocery store and go, no, 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 that's what I need?
Yeah, I mean, when you go into the grocery store, how many natural things do you see? You see a lot of things in boxes, you see a lot of things in containers. There's not in bottles of sodas and these different things. You see a lot of things that really aren't natural.
Yeah, and how many people take the time to take the time to read the label?
Well, and what I do try, when people are kind of humming along really well in their health and their wellness pursuits, I encourage them to sort of stay on the periphery of the grocery store. That's where you'll find the produce, the things of that nature that are natural. It's when you get into the middle of the store that you find a lot of things that aren't as good for our health.
Now, do you coach people with cancer?
Yeah, there are. It's interesting because I do seem to attract some clients who are very similar to me. So I get a lot of clergy from different faith bases. I get a lot of people who have had cancer or are dealing with cancer at that time.
Do you ever work with children with cancer, given you're a survivor yourself?
You know, I don't. One of the things that I really like to do is work with adults 18 or older. I typically don't work with children.
Okay. So what goes on if somebody has cancer? What exactly do you do with them?
Well, because it is driven by the client's wants, desires, and needs, we're going to go where that person wants to go. Now, I do check in with them. I check in them with concerns that I might have in a direction that they're going. I ask their permission to see if there's some additional information that I can give them that may inform their decision. But the decisions in coaching is ultimately up to the client. We're going to experiment with different things, what may work well, what may not do well, and then together we sort of come up collaboratively with these ideas and these exercises that people can do in order to increase their health and wellness.
Now, do you ever suggest, or your clients ever ask for help with psychoneuroimmunology?
That's not come up in any of my practice, and it's not within the role or scope of my coaching practice.
Okay.
So it would be something that I would refer out.
Okay.
If
Are you familiar with the Simonton method?
No, I'm not.
Oh, Carl Simonton is a radiological oncologist, and he worked with his wife, a psychologist, Stephanie Matthews Simonton. And so she was the mind, he was the body, and they started to use visualization for cancer healing. And this was late 60s, early 70s, and there's 22 medical studies, and 18 of them shows visualization helps fight cancer.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You know how powerful the mind is in
Oh,
healing,
yeah.
and so that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. All right. Anything you want to add about your typical appointment or start, and then how it progresses?
Yeah, we just go from where the client is. Where is she? Where is he at that moment? Where does she or he want to be? And where are they satisfied within these dimensions of wellness? It may be something that deals with body, it may be something that deals with spirit, career, it can be a number of things, but all of these things play a role in our health and wellness, and where do they want to go?
Now, do your clients meet with you in person? Do you do Skype, telephone, etc.?
Yeah, I do everything electronically.
Okay.
So we'll make appointments, we'll do that, but we'll either be on the phone or Skype or Google Plus or whatever the iPhone thing is now that you can do. However we can connect electronically. What I'm attempting to do in that is not limit geographically who I can work with, but also to make it as convenient as possible for people. So sometimes leaving where you are and coming to an office can create some disadvantages for people.
Especially people that are in recovery.
Yes.
You know, because
Right,
they're just
you
going
just
to
don't-
doctor's
right,
appointment,
right.
and it's hard on the family too.
And you can feel so low during your process of recovery that the idea of getting up and getting out and dressed and all of that can be an encumbrance to getting where you want to be.
Okay. And then what is your concept of wellness?
Well, it does kind of play back to that mind, body, spirit and those different dimensions of wellness. So, again, all of those things that make up sort of a wellness wheel, like these different pieces of a puzzle. And it changes. What's really dynamic about this, Jay, is that it changes. So you can be doing really well in your movement or your exercise or your eating habits or patterns, and then something changes in your work life, and then your health and your wellness changes because of that. So it's a really dynamic process. And what I love about coaching is that as the client is the expert, the client tells me where she is most needful at the time. And what I do is listen deeply, ask probing questions, because I believe that the answers are within her or within him, but they may need a little help in bringing those best responses to the surface.
Now, is there a difference in the definition between health and wellness, or the two words synonyms that can be used interchangeably?
I do use the words interchangeably, but I think for a lot of people, when you talk about health, they're thinking my diet, my exercise, things like that.
Or absence of sickness.
Absence of sickness. There is a spectrum of wellness, so that even somebody with cancer can be living well, or they may not. There's a spectrum within.
Well, I love Moshe Feldenkrais. Did you ever hear of him?
No.
Oh, he created the Feldenkrais method. He was an Israeli scientist. But anyway, he defined health as the ability for one's mind and body to recover. He didn't say you never get sick, you never get injured, but how one recovers from an illness or injury. I just love that definition. You know, so.
Yeah, that's spectacular.
Okay. And how long ago did your interest in health and wellness start? Was it before you had cancer?
You know, actually, Jay, it was that second cancer that really did it. I think if someone has been in the hospital like I have, and been at the complete mercy of the physicians and the nurses and the hospital system, they tell you when to eat, they tell you when to wake up, they tell you when to take what pill, all of these different things, I felt totally out of control. When I was a kid at 13 with cancer, I just did whatever they told me. And I did that. I was a good patient at 39, but I also felt completely out of control. And so one of the things that I got to looking at was, how can I better serve my body, my whole body, and what changes can I contribute to my health and wellness that may be able to stave off some of these diseases? Now, I don't know that it will, but I do know that my quality of life is much better than it was back then. I'm more vibrant. I love life more.
How have you been able to improve your quality of life?
Well, one of the biggest things that I did was move to a whole foods plant-based diet. So I weighed 50 pounds more than I do today. I was probably vitamin deficient in a number of areas because I ate corn dogs and packaged foods.
And you say that with a smile on your face.
I loved those things, and I would get the slices of cheese and wrap around those corn dogs and heat them up, and I trained my taste buds to like particular foods. I've retrained them now to go in a different direction, and for me that has been a game changer.
Now, are you able to exercise?
Oh, absolutely. Yesterday, I rode my bike down to Wrigley Field from up here in Highland Park, and I do spinning classes at the rec center here in Highland Park. I walk 5 miles or more a day. I don't do a great deal of strength training, but I do some.
And how about prayer? Is that part of your daily life?
Meditation is a big part of
Great.
my life. 2 times a day, 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock is marked off so that I can...
pretty much the times that I do it.
Yeah, and again, it's a building of a different sort of a habit. It wasn't easy initially, but now 10 and 4 is good for me.
Now, are you going to be teaching any classes at Infinity?
I am teaching a class at Infinity this upcoming time about being smart about your health goals.
You know, you use SMART as an acronym?
Yeah, I do use SMART as an acronym.
Okay, what does it stand for?
Well, SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So we need to make specific goals for our health. We can say we want to be healthier and all that, but that's not really a specific goal. It may be that I want to walk 5 miles 2 times a week, or whatever it may be for my my personal life. And it has to be measurable. We can measure those things. If you want to do it 2 times, 3 times, or if you want to walk 1 mile, those are measurable sorts of things.
Sure.
And it needs to be achievable. If somebody wants to run a marathon before they have trained, that's not a very achievable goal. So we need to look at how achievable it is.
And another way to say that, realistic.
Realistic, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we've got our R with relevant.
Okay.
So it needs to be relevant to your goal. If your goal is to walk several times a week and it's not relevant to your overall health ideas, that's not going to fit.
Now,
as well.
do you think it's important to discuss the goals with family members? Because let's say if the husband or the wife wants to be in a triathlon, it requires a tremendous amount of training that could throw the family life out of balance.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I do talk about with folks who are working on their health and wellness is what support they may have in reaching their goals. Okay. So if there's going to be a family situation that will get in the way with that, we're going to sort of talk through how she might better be able to do that, or how he might be able to get through those.
Well, I have a friend who's a triathlete, and when she races, her husband and 3 kids come out and, come on, Mom!
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great support.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think you did relevant. What's the T?
And T is time bound. So what I try to do is get them to look at this within a certain amount of time. If it's 6 weeks, if it's 6 months, or whatever it is, so that we can then sort of begin to look at this experiment. How did it work? How might we tweak it a little bit to make it even better?
Now, did you come up with the acronym SMART? Or?
No, I didn't. That's been around for quite a while.
Now, I notice you're wearing something on your wrist. Is that for your health and wellness?
It is. It is. This job made by Jawbone and then connects to my phone with a Fitbit application. It measures the number of steps I take. It measures the amount and and how good my sleep was. And if I take the time to put into it what I eat, it will also tell me my caloric intake for the day.
Wow. And is it the brand name on that? Or
it says Jawbone right there.
Oh, Jawbone. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. You did mention that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so who are the people that are most attracted to come see you?
Yeah. I tend to get people who are clergy, people who have had cancer, but I also get a lot of folks who just want to lose weight. That is, in their mind, that is the most important piece of their health that is lacking at the time. So those are the 3 different kinds of folks that come to me more often than not.
And so how does your weight loss program work? Is it just your client says, well, I've got to stop eating out, or stop eating junk food, or stop eating late at night? And then you go, okay,
Yeah.
let's be smart about it.
Right. But I also want to connect that back to her or his values. Why is this important to her? Why is it important to him now versus some other time in their life? What have they done in the past where they've been successful in losing weight? How can we capitalize on that and maybe do some things that are different this time?
Yeah, well, I just saw an article online about Whoopi Goldberg, who lost 35 pounds during the View's hiatus, and she was very honest and open. And she just felt she had never been heavier, and one of the other co-hosts inspired her to lose weight, and she just followed the other woman's weight loss program.
Yeah. I mean, these needs and desires can be tied back to a number of things, and all of the clients are different.
Well, and we're getting such competing messages. You see so many advertisements for food or beverages, and then, so that's to get you overweight, and then you see all these other things to, inspire you to lose weight and exercise, and now meditation is a popular thing.
Yeah, we are bombarded with messages, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I think somebody who's gone through some health and wellness coaching are oftentimes able to discern what messages are in their best interest and what messages are not exactly in their best
So
interest.
what makes a good health and wellness coach?
Yeah, I think it's somebody who is really attentive, and one of the words that comes up for me again and again is passionate about this. Because I have been so sick in the past, to be able to play a role in someone's life transformation from where they've been to where they want to go, that fills my heart with goodness. I mean, people struggle. 2/3 of Americans these days are overweight or obese. We've got a healthcare crisis going on,
And there are many illnesses related to obesity.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I understand it, it's feeling passion, being a good listener, connecting with the health coach and health and wellness coach.
Yeah, I think those are all very important, and I also think a good quality coaching program is important, vitally important. There are a lot of coaching programs out there where anyone can call themselves a coach. You can go through a 2-day workshop and call yourself a coach. You can go through a 6-week thing on the internet and call yourself a coach. So I think credentialing is really important, and it's becoming more so. Harvard, the Mayo Clinic, some really robust institutions are looking at the credentialing of coaches these days, and it's a burgeoning profession, just like counseling was as it came out of psychology.
I gotta cut you out there.
Yeah, sure.
For more information about Reverend Russell, the Infinity Foundation, the Inner Quest Talk Show, stay tuned to the credits at the end. Until next time, wish you good health, good spirits, and good fortune. Pleasure to meet you.
Very nice. Thank you, Jay.
For more information about this show, our guests, Infinity Foundation, or any of our other programs, please visit our website, infinityfoundation.org, or call us at 847-831-8828.